Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the How's It Going podcast, episode number 38. Today, we are joined with another special guest. He is an entrepreneur, businessman, and inspirational speaker, Chris Marshall. So, jumping straight into it, how are you?
I am wonderful. I appreciate this. Shout out to UK. I got a couple of UK followers. Me, born and bred New York. So I certainly appreciate the time and the reach out you guys gave.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, man.
Awesome,
man. So, Liam,
what's up with you guys?
Oh, wait, we're all good.
Yeah,
we're
good,
very chilly, my friend.
Look, I know we're going to get into it, right? We're probably going to talk business, money, probably going to talk mind state, especially with what's going on in this pandemic, podcasting. Yeah. I have a podcast myself, Build Your Empire podcast. So I appreciate the plug, and I appreciate, again, just the time and you guys reaching out. But what I appreciate most is the fact that the intro song is Maze from Juice WRLD. I caught that.
Yes.
Appreciate that. I fuck with you guys for that one. I'm 29, so I'm older than probably who's listening and you guys. But Juice WRLD's a GOAT, let's be honest.
Yes, no,
he's a soldier. He's a soldier, I tell you.
100%.
But yeah, thanks, man. We really respect that, bro. Thank you.
Respect to you. So, Liam, I believe you got some questions.
Yep. So we'll start with the first question. So we all know you're running a podcast called the Build Your Own Empire podcast with you and Frank G. Mm-hmm. So what qualities do you think you need to have to run such a successful podcast?
Look, man, you need to be charismatic, right? But not only that, I would say I'm a marketing consultant and also a salesman, right? So I'm constantly reaching out and networking is so incredibly important. You pick each other's brains and you expand your web. But then you also have to have the technology, the technological part of it, knowing the algorithms of the YouTube, knowing the algorithms of Instagram. You have to kind of leverage that, as well as just having the podcast accessible all over. Now, I don't know if that's what you guys are trying to do, but, we're on Alexa, Google, we're on Apple, Spotify, Deezer, we're on wherever you listen to podcasts. And that's very easily to do. Just create an RSS feed.
Yeah.
So I suggest you guys create that RSS feed, because once you have the platform, right, the whole goal is to have a platform, to have a voice. But then you can turn that into conversion, right? So if you have an audience that engages with you, if you convert them into views or listens, well, now you got something. Now you can eventually convert them into money as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome, that. So, Owen?
So I just wanted to ask, leading on from when you mentioned networking, I think we all personally think that networking is one of the most important aspects of, creating a business, running your own company. And we just wanted to get your take on how important it is to have those networking skills, especially in your younger life, because obviously it takes you really far as you go on along and progressing in your business.
So what you guys are doing are incredible. First off, it's me and my best friend who run a podcast. I'm guessing you three are best friends, which could be difficult for you three to work at it together, because this person's more passionate, this person wants to do something else, this person wants to do that. Maybe this person is better at networking and pitching from a sales perspective than this person. So you really got to figure out who's best here, right? But the fact that you guys are creating something tangible and building something at a younger age, you're already ahead of the curve by a mile here, a mile. If you stay at this, by the time you're my age, there's no doubt in my mind, you could be monetizing whatever your passion and love to speak about is. Now, whether or not you're consistent, that's a whole different story. Now, when it comes to networking, back to your question, to phrase this, to put this in perspective, in 1995, when there was dial-up, I don't even know if you guys were born yet. There was dial-up where it took you 10 minutes to log into the internet, right?
Oh, no.
Right.
Oh, no.
So when you got an email, everybody was so happy they got a fucking email that they immediately clicked the email, right? Now, fast forward to 2021. If you get an email, you're not even looking at the goddamn thing. You're clicking delete or put in spam, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Now, let's put it in perspective. Instagram right now, direct messaging is $19.95 email. So if you send 10 people a direct message, 5 of them are probably going to see it. Out of the 5, 2 of them may read it, 1 of them will answer, depending if your messaging is good.
Yeah, true.
It's all about
I mean,
like first impressions, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, when you're talking about a pitch, right? And I think, Luke, you're the one who messaged me, right? You essentially pitched me. And I saw that you just copy and pasted that pitch and used it for someone else to get guests. So you're probably just using that pitch over and over. If you were to be more personable, and if you were to come at me with a different angle where I didn't catch that initially, you would have a higher success rate. That's for certain.
Yeah.
Right.
So when you're networking, you can't think about what you want from a greedy, selfish factor, right? I want this dude to come on my show. You can't ask that straight up. You have to do what Luke did, which is,
You have to say
hey, man,
what it's about.
Dude, you complimented me, and then you tried to give me a value prop by saying, hey, mention your tags as much as you want, plugs, I don't care. And then you asked. Now, anyone who denies you, whether or not the show is big or small, typically is a piece of shit, because they have the time. They have the time. They just don't want to give you the time because they don't value you, the individual.
Yeah,
but
true.
If 10 people listen to this episode, it doesn't fucking matter, because guess what? There's 4 people in this Zoom call, which is the network in itself.
That's very true. Yeah. To think of
You
it
know
like
what,
that.
mate? You know what, bro? Like, we've only been doing this for we've only just been recording for what, like
August.
5 or 6 minutes. And like in this episode, I rate you so high now. 'cause
Exactly, yeah,
honestly, you're just spitting, you're just saying the truth. And I don't think a lot of people tend to do it in the way you do lately. You know, here
Yeah,
it
you
is,
say your
black and
mind.
white.
Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
sugarcoat it. It's right there.
And
Well,
that is really
I think that's good, yeah.
high respects to you, man.
Man, I appreciate it. And, look, outside of selling weed 10, 15 years ago, I never had a successful business. Now, I make a shit ton of money from knowledge based on selling stuff, learning stocks, learning in real estate. But as a business, it's incredibly hard to generate revenue doing something you love, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. If you build an audience that fucks with you and your passion, eventually you will make money, and that's just a hobby of yours. It's just, how long can you do it? How better can you refine your craft? I mean, you have Maze as an intro, which is dope, but you know what? When are you gonna have your own shit? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But we obviously, like, the 3 of us have got that drive and that passion to eventually get to the point where we can do that. And we just want to try and get our message out, get our voices heard to anyone we possibly can. And that's why we thought, running a podcast would be the best way about that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, podcasting is still underrated. If you go back 3 years ago, podcasting was it was unspoken of. You had Gary Vee do his podcast, you had Joe Rogan do his podcast, but that was really it. And then if you noticed in 2020, a lot of celebrities created a podcast.
I feel like COVID affected it as well, because everyone's stuck inside, they'll create a podcast.
So, Luke, I actually disagree with that theory. Right. Podcasting is a passive way to consume content, which means you're listening to a podcast when you're commuting to work. Now that everybody's home, they're playing video games and putting their attention on something that, like, it's right in front of them, not passively listening to a podcast.
Right, fair enough.
So I actually think podcasting this year is down a bit, but from a creative level, people are beginning to create them, right? Now you have celebrities developing their podcast because they understand how significant it's going to be. Now, the average person who it has a social media page, they don't have a podcast yet, but in 2 years they will. So you're ahead of the curve there. Now it's how good is your podcast and how good is your messaging and your brand and your entertainment, your education, all that shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're right. Well, another question we wanted to ask you was, on the side of business and growing and expanding your brand, what kind of qualities would you say, as an entrepreneur yourself, would somebody who's wanting to start a business would probably need?
I mean, it's straight passion, knowing skills such as network and sales, and then, I mean, how consistent and obsessed are you? Like, again, the three of you sound extremely motivated. How motivated are you guys, though? I don't know. In a year and a half, when I check back, are you going to be the same guys, except, refined and have a better show? 99.5% of the people they're going to give up. One of you three may drop off, or it just may be one of you who really enjoyed podcasting to continue, right? But from a business standpoint, I think people underestimate interacting with just normal people. So you guys are messaging me to come on the podcast, but you're not messaging the average person to listen to the podcast. So you're not growing your audience.
Yeah. Well, I think having a guest on is better because they can give like a more like they can give another opinion and a better opinion.
It's brand equity, but you're hoping that I probably share this on my audience that can siphon the attention and get you notoriety as well as you on your platform. But that's not even going to work the way you think it is. I can post your podcast 1 million times on my Instagram, which has 100,000 followers, but the way the algorithms are, you wouldn't get even 100 followers, right?
Yeah.
So how do you do that? Well, now you have to just interact with a bunch of normal people. Hey, how's your day? Oh, you listen to podcasts? Hey, I have one. Check it out. Appreciate it. Thank you. You'd be surprised on how well that works.
Yeah. Definitely. I had a question, and it was obviously you've started your own podcast. You're on Spotify, Deezer, Apple, everything like that. So how did that idea of starting a podcast really start? Like, right at the beginning, how did it come into your head?
So I like to think I'm ahead of the curve from how people behave from a social interacting standpoint, right? So I knew podcasting was a thing. In fact, me and my buddy, Frank G, we created 4 podcasts before we actually got our podcast going, right? But we had 4 failures. There was a podcast that we had, I called it the pregame. And the pregame was pretty much we got fucked up in front of camera and then we spoke about whatever. Well, we realized we can't be doing that because that's unhealthy and it's also not a brand we want to promote. I mean, we're taking shots, but the show was called the pregame, so we had to
think
cut
about
that.
The business side of it as well.
100%. The first podcast, I was using Anchor on my phone. I'm sure you heard that the app Anchor.
Yeah.
You could create a podcast with that app, but then you're not a serious podcaster if you're using that app, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I
was gonna say like talking about. So I was gonna say talking about like starting up podcasts. How we did it, I think is quite good for people to hear because we didn't have like microphones and stuff like that. We didn't have like a proper setup, and we really wanted to make an episode, so we adapted to what we had. We had an Xbox and a phone, so we just found every single way we could. We'd spend hours trying to figure out a way to do it, and in the end, we finally found a way that has lasted up until about episode 20 or something like that. And then we found a new setup and we found a new way of doing stuff, which is really adaptable.
Look, let me tell you something. That is going to happen 100 times over. 100 times over. I mean, I looked at your podcast and what's going on, and you can improve 1,000%, right? But that's you guys figuring it out. And that's you guys going through the journey. Now, I can help you, give you advice, tidbits, and you'll utilize it and whatnot. But until you spot the errors, correct them yourself, you're going to keep on progressing. But you'd be surprised on how long it takes between equipment, between jingles, between people coming on to your channels and listening, to retaining them, to advertisers, to interviews. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah, it's a long journey, but it's just dedication that you've got to have to keep doing your podcast and keep up with everything.
I would always say try and stay on brand, right? So Build Your Empire podcast, we're going through our journey of building our empire, being successful. On the flip side, we either tell you the skills how to do it or bring on guests that are building their own empire. Do you see how, it's just kind of branding there?
Yeah.
If you have a show where you guys are mindlessly talking, we're not Joe Rogan, we're not Gary Vee, we're not The Rock, people are not going to listen to that conversation. They're most likely not. So you have to create segments and then get the people to listen by creating micro content.
Yeah,
100%.
It's just finding our identities, if you would like. Like, on Sunday we had EJ Carter on, the rapper, and he suggested to us, in any form of creativity, you need to have a character about you, because once you establish that character, that gives you an interest to the consumer, and it makes you different from the rest of the group, if you'd like.
100%.
So it's just probably for us three, we need to go and find our individual characters and put them together under one brand, and that should help simplify our goals and our journeys, if you'd like.
Man, it gets so more deeper than that, and you guys starting so young is what's so exciting. For one, you're correct, right? The hat that I'm wearing is my brand. It's a LAL hat, Leave a Legacy, and I always am known for wearing the hat. Just like some people brand slogans or catchphrases, right? It creates an identity that your audience can fuck with. But the more you guys stick with this, one of you may realize that, you know what, I'm a huge gamer. While the other guy, I just started picking up guitar, started learning for 2021. One of you guys may be like, I love playing guitar. And then you guys can create your own identity within your brand, within the brand. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now you create pathways of passions, and then eventually you'll figure out how to make money. But like, I'm telling you guys, if you guys are right now thinking about money, you lost.
Yeah. We've kind of like, we are thinking obviously about the future and the long term, but we're kind of like focusing on the things that are in front of us right now. Do our 1000% best on that, get it out of the way, and then move on. Move on with everything.
Well, it seems like you guys just want to interview people and pick people's brains, which again is educational for you guys, which is most important, right? Because you take that, leverage it for your future moves. But I am telling you, if any of you think massive amounts of money now at whatever age you are starting something, you're just going to fail, because you're not doing it for passion. You're doing it for money. You're not doing it for legacy or building an empire. You're doing it for money. Money, I make a lot of money, but money is fucking ass to me.
Yeah, because you're more concerned about making quality content and providing for your audience rather than how much money you get at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's the attitude that you should have, in my opinion.
100%. Also, it's very interesting when you talk about rich. If someone tells you, I want to be rich, ask them, what does rich mean? Like, what do you define rich? Because I'll tell you what, I want a baby. That's my goal in my life, is to have a kid. I'm a single man making money, living my life, traveling the world. It's great. Love it. But I want a kid. Now, I would rather be a poor man with a loving family than a rich man who can travel the world single. So what is rich?
Rich is like, if I were to define it myself, is just where you're happy. Like, there's a point in your life where you're happy with like your surroundings, your business, your job, your
It's a great answer. Like happiness.
Yeah.
It's not all about money.
But then again, happiness is different for every person.
True.
You could be happy sitting on $20 million, or you could be happy, seeing the sunlight the next day.
Yeah,
that's different things like that.
That's for
subjective.
some people. There's I was gonna say there was another question, and it was if you could give our viewers right now one piece of crucial advice for anyone who's starting a business, trying to grow a business, building an empire, whatever, what would it be?
I mean, look, it's so simple. It's just straight up consistency. Now, all these questions that you ask and ask other people, they're gonna give you such typical answers where you're like, "Son of a bitch!" Like that's nothing. Consistency, like that's what you're giving me. But like the consistency of the patience and understanding that is all you need. Like when I started my podcast, I told my friend, "This is gonna take 3 to 5 years to do anything, to do anything." Now, if you understand that from the start, well, that changes the whole perspective and dynamic of the game, don't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true.
But I mean, if you're not working at it every single fucking day, it ain't gonna get done, man. You ain't gonna get shit accomplished.
You got to put hard work in to get what you want. And
that's why if you're young, if you're still in high school or college, man, if you understand this then, by 30, if you're not rich, I'm disappointed in you.
It's the knowledge that you learn that'll get you far, like in this industry as well.
Well, I hope that you guys develop you also have to understand that you creating content and learning how to start a podcast and figuring out the RSS feed and getting on all these DSUs and that is also leverage for future jobs. When you meet employers, they don't do that shit. They don't know that shit. So when you come to them like, I also have a brand and I want to work for you and learn the skill set you have, then even inside the walls of your future jobs, you have value.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
I think it's just like, I think any person watching this episode, just maximize your learning as much as you can. Learn as much as you can, because all that knowledge and everything you can draw in from the people around you is you're just going to be able to absolutely smash anything you want to do.
But when you know what's really funny is, if you talk to most people, they want money, they want fame, they want women, they want the fucking the platform. And if you noticed, greedy, selfish people typically are the broke ones. But the ones who are very humble, giving, and genuine and authentic are the ones who fucking win. Now, people, it's ironic, but people don't fucking understand that. The more you give, the more you get, instead of trying to just get.
Right.
Yeah. But then it's like, would you rather be a really rich man with no happiness and no respect for other people around them and respect for them people helping you get to your level of success? Or would you just want to be your average guy, you've just got happiness and you don't have anything to worry about because you in yourself feel like you've accomplished things, if that makes sense?
100% it makes sense. And now what you're alluding to and what you're saying could also be to what I think this podcast was made for, was the mental health of teenagers and individuals during the pandemic, right?
100%.
Now that's very difficult for me to express, simply because my mental state is like Kobe Bryant, right? Like it's like my favorite music artist, Russ. I'm so optimistic and positive that like I can't get down because of how I see the world, which is people are so upset that they can't do certain shit, but you can still get drunk with your homies on Zoom.
Yeah.
Like you can still game with them on Zoom.
Exactly.
You can still you can create a podcast and create a passion. You could learn guitar like me. You could, like, this could be a good thing. Instead, people from reading the news and the media look at it as it's a bad thing.
Yeah. But like, we've us started this channel, and because at the start of the first lockdown here in the UK, we were all sat in his rooms, and we thought, right, we will not let this pandemic stop us from trying to build happiness amongst the world and amongst our personal communities. We need to make a change. So we sat there and we went, right, well, you know, we've got an Xbox, we've got Twitch. Let's just try and bring a smile on one person's face. Because if you can do that just on one single human,
and you know you've helped.
Your job's done. Your job is
done.
done.
Your job,
in my opinion.
Here,
yo, guys, your name and legacy, right? Your name in to have a voice that lives on after you're gone, and also, I guess, while you're alive. But I mean, the fact that you guys are so kind and humble to make positive change within this world. If you were to ask me to bet on these guys whether or not they'd be successful or not, based on that character, I would make the bet, yes, they will be successful.
That means a lot.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that, bro.
Means a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, but now it's, of course, and that's real talk. But now it's, how do you guys figure out how the fuck do I increase my platform?
Yeah, that's
right. Now that's fucking hard. That's the work part. That's the staying up till 3 a.m. DMing fucking everyone you could to try and get them on your show. You know, that's answering or asking random people questions to get feedback and market survey. I mean, that's a whole different game. That's running ads. I don't know how much money you guys put into your shit, but if you have no money, that's even more harder. That means all you have is time.
Yeah.
Well, that's all we do, really, is we just have time. You know, we're not a very high budget podcast, and
we
I
try
think if we
deal
just
what we've got like right now.
Yeah, and if we just put our time, any spare time, go straight into this podcast, you know, it has the potential to become successful.
It has every right. It has every right to do that.
It's just the work ethic, and if you can work hard enough, and the motivation.
I mean, you guys, I think, are on Twitch. Twitch seems to be an underrated platform, which you never know. You put out a piece of content, it blows the fuck up. But you got to set the content up for it to be good. So, like, what I'm about to say right now could be good content. And that's fucking Liam is quiet as shit. I don't know Liam. He ain't saying much. It seems like it's just Luke and Owen. Now, Liam, I love you, dog. But, like, do you like using your voice? Are you more of a writer? Are you more of a photographer? Are you more of a musician? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it. I'm usually quiet in most stuff, but I do like to get my voice heard. But we all have our turns in doing it. We all run different episodes. It was my turn to do the intro and the outro and all this. So we all take it in turns to step up and try and get our voice heard.
Beautiful. I mean, I just wondered because, you know, you were the quiet one. I'm like, I bet you he's a badass photographer. I
don't know. No, but Chris, like, on a real note, you know, all this advice you're giving us, you just have no idea how much this really does mean to every one of us. Like, we are just so drawn to your knowledge, and we just want to learn as much as we possibly can from everyone we can. You know what I mean? We're like a sponge.
Yeah. So
trying to absorb all that knowledge.
It's crazy, right? So I know you had a rapper come on recently, and I'm 29, and I rapped from age like 10 to 20, and I quit. I quit like in college because I'm like, you know, a white kid in New York. I'm not gonna make money doing this, so I ended up getting into marketing and then getting into sales. Now, sales is very lucrative. Marketing is great as well. But here's what's interesting. Is the value and skills that I learned. If I was a musician today, I'd be able to get famous 10 times quicker than most musicians because they don't know how to leverage the marketing and sales.
Yeah.
So if I was to give you guys any like advice, it's that one of you, at least one of you, you have to understand sales and you have to understand the digital marketing landscape.
Right.
Yeah.
Because as personable and charismatic as you are, and as you being humble enough to say the advice I'm giving you is great, it's all advice that you'll learn within time, most of it. But the true shit that makes me successful and makes me money is the technical part of learning the actual skill of reading people and social cues and being a step ahead and literally being in the framework of sales and marketing.
Yeah.
It's just all about like you just said, then being one step ahead of the game.
Yeah.
You know, if you can have that forward thinking and that pre-planning, I don't even know, you're just like gonna automatically be ahead of every other person in the market.
You gotta think.
And
You gotta think like kind of tactically. Really, you've got to be on top of your game.
Plan them steps ahead so you know what you're doing, know where you're going.
Exactly.
Yo, Liam, Luke, Owen, I'm excited for you guys, right? Because the way society is, it's society for the most part. Love you guys. Y'all are stupid. Is that you look at my Instagram, see 100,000 followers, and you think that I am some person of essence. Now I am, but I'm not fucking, some crazy celebrity, right? But the work ethic to get that number gives me the credibility to leverage it to get interviews on my own podcast, etc. Just like I can use it to get women. Women see 100,000 followers and sometimes they think that fucking means something, but it means nothing. Now, when you guys begin to grow and when you guys begin to have a brand that's tangible, that you could put on a t-shirt and say, I created this. And you have an audience, whether it's 5, 10, 15,000, you're going to see people switch up on you, not in a negative way, but in a way that like your parents are going to be like, oh, wow, you're really doing something. And meanwhile, it's not much at all, but the perception people see of you is going to give you all the confidence you need.
Yeah.
That's true for a lot of people. That.
Definitely.
Liam, I believe you had a few questions.
Go on, Liam.
Sorry.
That's all right.
So sorry. So like you said, you're running the podcast with you and Frank G, and it's taken you how many tries did you say? Four attempts.
Four attempts
to get up to it. What did you learn going through the 4 attempts that made you want to go on to the next one and the next one and the next one, and eventually got you to where you are now?
So that's the consistency, right? And also being ahead of the curve and knowing that this is something that is gonna pop off and be important. And it took me 4 tries and 2 years to do it. The first try, I tried doing it on my cell phone in my car with me and Frank G. Like, what? That sound quality is duty. Like, it's ass. Like, that don't work. So we scratched that. We're like, all right, fuck it. Second try, we tried getting on Anchor because Anchor is this podcast tool. So I tried creating episodes in that way. But the branding was off and the quality still sucked. And I also noticed that nobody's going to listen to your podcast if it's not accessible on these platforms, right? If you have an iPhone and your podcast is not on Apple, you have a problem. Now, your podcast is mainly on YouTube, but so that's a little bit of a problem because a podcast is mostly audio passive content. You're saying to your audience, you have to watch us.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it's important. It's important for you to get on Apple, which I can show you and tell you how after this show. Now, I had to go through that, right? My second podcast, I didn't know how to fucking get through Apple. So I finally figured it out. I spent the 4 to 8 hours researching on Google, how the fuck do I get on Alexa? Hey, Google, put Build Your Empire podcast on. Hey, Alexa, put Build Your Empire. Like, how do I do that? I learned. And then the pregame show we started, we knew that wasn't going to work just because, I'm a smart businessman. I know I'm here with a hat and a hoodie and I have colorful language, but that's what I am. I don't want to be a drunk entertainer. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not the route. It's not the route I was going for. So I immediately shut that off. And then I created the Build Your Empire podcast and it's been dope since.
It's just
man.
It's really inspiring how many times that you've tried and failed, and then you just said, "All right, let's do this again, and then let's try and make it better." And then eventually, you've got to where you want to be because of that hard work and dedication.
Man, I fail on everything I do. It's just the perception doesn't seem that way because I can make money and it looks like people are into me. So people look in are like, oh, no matter what he's doing is okay, which gives me a cover up for when I do fail. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Luke, I think you've got a couple more questions. Did you say?
I've already asked mine. What I want to know. I just
Have
want
you
to
asked all
say.
yours?
I just want to say again, it's amazing that you're actually on this show because we didn't think that we would like get to this stage, as in having guests that are like got a big like status in the world really. So it's really good to see us improving. Like you says, we're improving, we're adapting, and hopefully one day we can, as you said, get on Apple, get on Spotify, have some deals and stuff
Look,
like that.
after this show, I'm gonna get you on Apple and Spotify within 2 weeks. Don't worry about that. But that right there is what I have to ingrain into you guys. Not so much your listeners, because no offense, maybe 10 people are gonna listen to me. But you guys listen to me every word, right? Therefore, I don't give a fuck about who listens to me. I came here for you guys, right? I mean, I'm on the clock right now. I'm working. I gotta be making calls and I got shit to do. But you come on because you can meet new people and then teach and educate, pass it on. People who don't come on, they just don't want to do that. Now, I'll tell you why that's fucked up. Because what if in 5 years your fucking podcast blows the fuck up and I'm down in the dumps?
True.
Now, my niceness, I am going to hope comes back to me if I reach back out to you guys and say, hey, could you guys come on my podcast and help me out? You guys are going to be
%, bro.
Yeah,
Definitely do it. Yeah, definitely.
That's what people don't understand, though, my friend. And that's what's fucked up.
Yeah, if people get a high status, they just forget about the fans and stuff. They forget about people that they know.
You want to keep interacting with people and keep it going, and you want to feel like they are listened to as well as you're trying to tell them stuff.
Yeah, you want to keep those fans and those people really close because if you, like you said, if you fall off somewhere, if you're not relevant anymore, if you're going down, then they're still there to say, yeah, all right, I'll give it a listen.
Well, you just never know. You never know the serendipity of who you're talking to. Like I could have a viral video go around 5 million tomorrow, and you guys have access to me, right? Vice versa. It's just absolutely crazy that you guys are in a good position. You guys kind of get it. You understand it. I mean, there's more to learn, but as long as you stay consistent, you'll be good. You'll be good money.
Yeah,
man.
Definitely, yeah.
100.
But I've just, me and Luke, we were having a conversation the other day, and it went when we were talking about EJ Carter coming on, and we said, do you know, it's amazing how as your fame and your fortune and your status grows, the way that people change how they see you, if that makes sense. Because as you're getting more popular, they might start seeing you for the money side rather than the actual character within you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. And that's something as my account grew, you started seeing people react differently to you, right? It's very interesting that people from other countries love me more than people that I went to high school with.
Yeah.
Think about that. I have people in Asia and Mexico that believe in me more than people I went to high school with, and they both watch me every single day.
That's the thing. That's the thing. You never know.
It's shocking that
crazy.
Like, it's shocking. Like, how people's perception of you can change just because of your status and your money, your job.
It shouldn't. It shouldn't.
It's wrong. It's
It
wrong. I think. You know what I mean?
Well, growing up is interesting. I mean, between figuring out what you enjoy, figuring out life, going through the partying experiences with women and drinking and clubs and fucking getting past not doing drugs, but maybe trying them, but like not getting addicted, like all that bullshit. Then going through college, and then your job and figuring out how the workforce works. And then like, it's crazy how much you're willing to learn. But as long as you guys stay open-minded and grounded, I mean, I think you guys got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, man. Thank you for that, bro.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
I think over the course of this episode, you've inspired me. You have inspired me.
You've inspired all of us, 100%, definitely.
Inspired all of us to go out and just do some of our time, grow this podcast into a brand and something that we can say is our own.
So I appreciate the great words. Now, whether or not you guys mean it or implement it, I have no clue. Not my thing. Because once I get off this, I'm going to continue being me and do my shit and keep elevating and succeeding, right?
Yeah,
but from you guys, I hope you guys just understand how simple it is to get the information, to go on Google and literally type like, how do I grow my podcast? Or put in the work in messaging 100 different people on Instagram and engaging their thoughts.
Yeah. Like in my spare time, for example, I just, I'd note down stuff on my phone, just little notes, even if it's just simple notes, like promote everything on your Snapchat story or make quality better. Just every single thing is just getting your brain working for ways to improve your podcast or whatever you're doing, which I think is a good mindset to have.
So instead of you guys having the mindset of what do people may think of me as I grow up, you should be having the mindset, what do people think of my content?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like you guys promoted the show. I think Owen and Luke, you guys just took a picture of the ceiling and said, I'm coming on. Right.
Yeah.
Now, as a consumer, as someone who you're trying to listen to, do you think that is clickable or exciting?
No. Well, no. Now that you do say that, it's clicking in my brain like,
I've got no
idea.
Yeah. So you guys have to figure out content schemes, right? And then you have to figure out how do people receive the information I'm putting out there? How does it look? Now, if you guys had a logo and then you guys had the maze, literally your YouTube theme song, right? Like if you had that and your logo come in and then say featuring me or whoever your guest is, I tell you what, that's gonna hit way fucking better than a picture of a ceiling.
That's a good idea, actually. Just giving me some.
Yeah.
Guys, don't be afraid to copy.
Got some stuff to do.
Don't like people think copying people is fucking bad. Dude, go to your favorite fucking podcast and copy the shit out of them. Because no matter how good you copy, you're not gonna fucking even come close to it. So you might as well might as well fucking emulate it.
Yeah, I got what you're saying. You give me some thoughts on it to do now. Like you said that to make it better than just a picture of the ceiling. You're giving me some thoughts on it to do.
Yeah, you also have to, like me, I don't give a fuck. But let's say you get a cocky, arrogant person who said yes to the show and thinks he's fucking hot shit. They don't want to see that either. You see what I'm saying? It could fuck you.
Yeah. Exactly.
But you know what, Chris, and I mean this like from all of us. When you're saying, it's all well and good.
You're being humble again. So before you say humble, I'm gonna give you a little tidbit. A podcast episode should be no longer than 45 minutes because that's the average commute.
We're heading to that mark now, actually.
Yeah, we're just about to get there.
And because I don't have the paid Zoom thing, I think Liam is gonna call it there.
So we're gonna end it off here. It's been an absolutely amazing episode. We've learned so much. I think you've inspired all three of us. Luke definitely. He's got a to-do list now, I think.
Yep.
For everyone still watching, the links to your podcasts are all in the bio.
In the
everything to do with you is all in the bio. So make sure to always go and check it out.
I tell you, Liam, you have a perfect fucking voice, though. Jesus, you could be like a sports announcer, like on fucking soccer or football, whatever you guys say over there. Like, holy shit, man. I mean, you killed the intro, killed the outro. You certainly have the voice. Hey man, you guys were awesome, and it was cool to chat. And if you guys ever need anything, leave a legacy, Chris. I'm here.
Awesome.
Thank you so
It means so much.
100%, man.
As we said,
Definitely.
all the links in the description. Please check
Please
it out.
go and check them out. Go and check them all out. As much as you can do, it helps us. It helps Chris. It helps everyone. So,
And all that
yeah,
being said,
we'll see you in the next one.
New York,
next one,
UK,
guys.
baby.
In the next
like
one.
and subscribe.